Hey CSM families, I just wanted to take a moment and encourage you that if you weren't able to attend our parent meeting this past Sunday, then I'd encourage you to take a half hour and watch this video. I know it's a little longer than most of us typically have, but I think there's enough important information for each of our parents to take time and watch this video. Hopefully it will answer some questions for you, as well as give you helpful and pertinent information going forward. I just want to reiterate to everyone, those who were at our meeting and who weren't, how thankful we are that you have entrusted your student to us at Calvary, and we are so grateful for the opportunity to partner with you as parents, and we are excited for this upcoming year. So thanks again for taking time to invest and watch this video, and feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. All right, well, the first thing I want to do is just give you a quick reminder. You should have got an email this morning. So if you haven't checked your email this morning, good for you. But this is a time I would encourage you to check your email, and part of that is there is a activity participation release form in that email, and that is really important for our student ministries. And so I have tried as best I can to streamline it, to make it convenient for you to have right there on your phone to be able to fill out. And so if you haven't filled that out for your student, I'd encourage you to do that during this meeting, or directly after this meeting, because if not, I'm going to hunt you down and have you fill that out, because it is imperative for us that we have your emergency contact information, and in case something were to happen, which is very unlikely, but in the event that it does, I want to make sure we're able to care for your students adequately. So there's a bunch of other stuff in that email as well for you. There's a brief survey. I think it's got 5 questions on it that will help us be able to know how to have some feedback from you on how to care for your students. There's updates about how to stay up to date with our calendar, different prayer requests, activities. There's a lot in that email. So I'd encourage you to take some time and read through that. The first thing I want to do this morning is just simply tell you and remind you, for those of you who have been a part of Calvary Student Ministries, a little bit about who we are and what we believe here as our students. So the first thing I want to do is introduce to you our staff. We have 23 volunteers this year who are committed and excited to be able to pour into and speak into your students. And so I have some nice pictures of them. I just want to briefly introduce them, hopefully not embarrass them. But first off, we have Miss Carolyn Farrow. We have Daniel and Miranda Herr, James and Stephanie Porter, Jared and Monica Leith, Josh Richards, Josh Struble, Margaret Walzer, Nolan and Peyton, Rebecca Weaver, Steve and Tara. Many of you know Steve and Tara. Some of you were probably in the youth group when Steve and Tara started. That's a joke for Steve and Tara. Steve and Tara, no, in all seriousness, this is a huge encouragement and really thankfulness for Steve and Tara, because they have been a part of our student ministry for 10 plus years serving and have been faithfully serving, and so very thankful for Steve and Tara. Taylor Oldham, Miss Terry Kolb, Tony and Allison Amarikian, Jonathan and Abby, they're engaged and getting married at the end of this year. And then Sam and Joy, they're getting married here, I think, in 2 weeks. And so they're jumping into the student ministry right at the front end of marriage. But that is our student ministry team. And you're going to have the opportunity to actually meet them at the end this morning. And part of what I want to accomplish in our meeting this morning is the opportunity for you to interact with your students' small group leaders. So at the back, I'll explain this at the end, but I'm going to send my leaders back at the end of the morning got little spots marked where they'll be in that general area. And it'll just be an opportunity for you to spend some time, introduce yourself, and maybe meet them, get their contact info, and hopefully start, if you haven't already met them, start a opportunity to start a partnership, because that's really what we're here for. We're a resource for you, not a replacement for you. And so our student ministry is, we are passionate about coming alongside and partnering with parents as you shepherd your children and raise them to follow the Lord. And that's our goal as well, is to come alongside you and help you do that. So I just want to briefly let you know a little bit about our philosophy. Again, if you've had students who've come through Calvary Student Ministries, you've probably heard this. But if not, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. You know our heart behind it. And so the first thing that I would say is our student ministry is not a church. We are an extension of Calvary Baptist Church. We're a ministry of Calvary Baptist Church that serves our 6th through 12th grade students from Calvary Baptist Church. And so our goal is not to be our own little church and reduplicate our own little church, have our own little worship services, but actually to come alongside the students at Calvary and help them further the mission of Calvary, help disciple them as Calvary seeks to disciple all the members at Calvary Baptist Church. So our goal is to do that with our 6th through 12th graders, and to be able to do that in a way that's helpful for them, that is, for lack of a better word, relevant, that is able to meet them where they're at, so that we can come alongside them in their season of life and show them and help them follow Jesus as 6th through 12th graders, and disciple them into healthy church members who will go from Calvary off to college. Some will stay here, some will go all across the nation, all across the world, and be healthy church members. And so our goal is to help students grow and go as they follow Christ. And so that's kind of our tagline. If you haven't seen or noticed it yet, our tagline for Calvary Student Ministries is Gather, Grow, Go. And those 3 words kind of summarize the heart of our student ministry. We value gathering as a student ministry. We value the relational aspect of student ministry. That is our number one way we think that it is the best way to reach students and help them follow Jesus, is through discipleship relationships. So we value gathering, in which we grow from the Word of God with the intention to have a short-term and long-term view of sending our students out, sending them out to go. We want to send them out short-term every week, prepared and equipped to follow Jesus from the Word of God through relationships. Ultimately, over 6 years as they're with us, to send them out into life, prepared and equipped to follow Jesus wherever He takes them. That's, in a nutshell, our student ministry, our philosophy, our heart, and that's the grid through which we look at everything. So as we plan activities, as we plan our times on Sunday nights together, everything we do, we try to filter through that grid, that we want to be a relational student ministry that's centered around the Word of God and discipleship, with the intention of helping students follow Jesus and be prepared to do that for the rest of their life. If you wanted to summarize Calvary Student Ministry. So that is, in a nutshell, who we are, what we're about, what we're trying to do. And let me just put a little plug in here. The first part of that is gathering together. The relational aspect is key. And so let me encourage you as parents that if you can buy into this mission alongside of us and help shepherd your students to grow in these areas and be committed to these areas, then help us by, as a family, being committed to being a part of the gathering, because that's where this is going to happen. And so our main gathering in Calvary Student Ministries is on Sunday nights. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. We're actually going to make some changes here, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I'd encourage you as a family to prioritize our time together, because the more you you are going to see impact in your students' life is when they are more faithfully committed to being a part of the gathering together. So I want to encourage you as parents. I have encouraged and called my leaders to be committed to coming on Sunday nights and getting 23 adults who have very busy and active lives, who are passionate about students. We have recruited people who are committed to be here for your students. And so I want to encourage you as families to send your students, have them be a part of it, and yeah, that's my plug. Let me just talk for a moment briefly about some changes to our Sunday night gathering. A year ago, after Calgary shut down and we took kind of the summer off with regards to COVID and whatnot, we made some changes to our Sunday nights here across the board. And we started discipleship classes. And so we had our first run of that last year through the fall and then this spring. And so after taking this summer to evaluate our different ministries, evaluate Calvary Student Ministries, one of the things that we want to do is make sure as a student ministry we're aligned with the rest of Calvary, because we're an extension of Calvary. So part of one of the differences was we were starting at 5 o'clock while the rest of the church was starting at 5:30 on Sunday nights. And so this summer, as we evaluated our philosophy, evaluated every part of our ministry, we decided it was time to make the change to align our student ministries with the rest of Calvary. And so we're going to be starting at 5:30 now on Sunday nights. And our program as a whole, it will look very similar. There will be some differences. And part of what we shaved off in that time frame was essentially what we were doing from 5 to 7 is we were recreating a worship service, a church service. We would play a game, we would sing a song or two, and then we'd have a teaching time and then small groups time. And it was wonderful. It was great for that season. But because we aren't a church and we are trying to relationally invest in your students, it frees us up to do some things differently. And so we're going to be changing the schedule up all throughout the year. There may be weeks where we'll sing some or we'll sing the whole night. We may not sing at all. We may play a game one Sunday, we may not play a game, or we may just have a time where students come hang out. One part that will be a part of our student ministries from a week-to-week basis is our small groups. And that is the center of our Sunday night. When students come together, we are going to get together in small groups for at least a portion of the time and spend time working through scripture, spend time working through practical life topics of where your students are at, and working through them as a small group. Our small groups are based by age and gender, and so each grade and each gender has a small group. So 6th grade guys have a small group, 6th grade girls have a small group, 7th grade guys, 7th grade girls, all the way up. And so that's intentional so that your student is put with people in the similar season of life as them, that they can work through these different topics together with their leaders. We are going to be restarting Dollar Dinner tonight, and so I know our students are excited about that. If you haven't been here when we've done Dollar Dinner, what that is exactly what the name is. Every item of food is $1, and students are welcome to come. It's impossible to judge how many students are going to be here, so I just buy a set amount of food, and then when it's gone, it's gone. So it's a first come, first served basis, but it is an exciting part of our ministry. It's a fun time, it's a relational time for students to just grab some dinner before youth group, and so we're restarting that tonight. Let me go through some notable events for you. Hopefully you got a card when you walked in. If you didn't, there'll be a card. I believe they're on the back table by the donuts back there. These are a schedule card that have all of our events for this fall. And so feel free to grab one of those. I encourage you to take one. Also in that email, there is a link to download a PDF copy of that you can save to your pictures. There's also, I created a Google Calendar that you can subscribe to, and it will automatically update your calendar with our events. So, that being said, there shouldn't be any excuse for, I didn't know there was an event that night, because there's a lot of avenues towards that. And so you're welcome to grab that, use that. If you have a question, send me a text if you're having trouble with that Google link, and there will, I will be more than happy to help you work through that. I'm not going to go through all these events. I just want to highlight 2 of them, and then 2 other opportunities coming up to put on your radar. The first one is our small group activities. That's this Friday and Saturday night or morning. I've left that up to the small group leaders, and that's intentional. We're doing that at the beginning of the year, beginning of our small groups. We're starting our small groups tonight, and it's intentional that we set aside a fun activity for students to be able to be a part, to get to know their small group, get to know their small group leaders, and build those relationships early on. So you should be getting a text, or maybe your student will get a text from their small group leader sometime this week as they work through trying to pick an activity. I've asked my small group leaders to keep whatever their activity is to $10 per person or less. This is not a big production activity. This is just simply a relationally driven activity. And so that's this Friday and Saturday. The second thing I want to just put in front of you is our Sanctified Retreat. And that's happening, you can see it on the calendar, October 22nd through 24th. And what that is, when I first came to Calvary, there was an annual junior-senior leadership retreat. And it was for 11th and 12th graders, and it was focused on encouraging them to be leaders in our youth group. And it was an awesome weekend to get away with them and challenge them. But as we kind of evaluated where our student ministry was, where our students were, and what would be beneficial for them, we actually decided to go with this retreat called Sanctified Retreat. So last year was our first one, and what it is it's a retreat dealing with the topic of dating, sex, and marriage. And the reason behind it was we would deal with those topics as they would come up through the text as we were studying through books, but we felt like this was specifically an area that your students needed a little more intentional study, a little more intentional shepherding and talking through. And so we started it last year. We did it with the juniors and seniors, and it was awesome. It was a wonderful, wonderful time, and very helpful for our students. And so this year we decided we're going to open it up to our 9th through 12th graders. And so we're going to be going away in October for a Friday night, Saturday night, coming home Sunday afternoon, specifically to work through this topic of dating, sex, and marriage, and really just helping our students understand what the scriptures has to say about these topics, and navigating moral purity. I'd encourage you as a parent to really pray through and consider sending your student to this. The reality is your student is being educated on these topics. If they have access to social media, if they watch any sort of entertainment, if they go to school and engage with anybody in middle school or high school, this is the season of time where they are really starting to think about sex and dating and hopefully marriage. And we want to show them what Scripture has to say about that. And we want to, as the church, be able to speak into this topic and show them what God has to say about that. So the cost for that, it's $120, but for 2 nights and 6 meals, that's a great price. And we're looking forward to that opportunity at the end of October. 2 more quick things. I just want to let you know a little bit, an update on our mission trip philosophy. Our COVID kind of threw off our plans. Our original goal was to offer a mission trip every other year for our students. And And as we began thinking about it this summer, and then through an experience, I got to take 12 students up to inner city Detroit this summer to serve alongside of a church plant. And it was a relatively inexpensive trip. I think it was $400, $500 max for our students. And through fundraising, I think we paid $100, maybe $150 per person to go away for a week and be a part of a church plant in a predominantly Muslim community with 50 people who are just faithfully trying to live out and share the gospel. And that that trip for those 12 students was incredibly eye-opening and impactful. And some of them are sitting here today, and if you were to hear them share what God taught them and the things they got to experience and learn, it was an awesome trip. Now, it wasn't like a normal missions trip because we didn't actually do a lot of ministry. We didn't do a VBS. We did spend time with people in the parks and did a few things, but really the focus of that trip was to observe and to learn what it looks like to faithfully live out the gospel in inner city Detroit, and to jump into conversations with people and just ask them what they believe and be able to share with them what you believe. And it was an impactful trip. And so I came away from that trip through thinking about it this summer and whatnot. And our plan is going forward to offer that trip every year. And that is going to be a baseline trip for our students who want to be a part of a missions trip. If you're going to go on a trip with Calvary Student Ministries, and I tell our students regularly, I would love for every single student to go on a trip with us. And that is going to be the trip that every student who gets to go on a mission trip with Calvary goes on. That's kind of the baseline trip. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's no language barrier. It's a huge cultural opportunity for them. It also exposes them to what we want them to see, that missions isn't going away to a destination location and doing fun things, but it's actually going and sharing the gospel with people who need it. And so that trip is something we're going to offer every year to our students. And then the goal would be on top of that to provide a second missions trip to students who want to go at the end of their high school career, probably their junior or senior year. We're going to offer it on an every other year to take them to go visit one of our gospel partners, probably out of the country. That's still up in the air, depending on what travel restrictions and whatnot. But that way they kind of understand what a ministry trip through Calvary looks like, what our goal is. They have the opportunity to go and observe and to serve, and then jump into a mission trip where they can actually be a lot more hands-on. And so we've got 2 mission trips coming up this summer. We're going to take that Detroit trip again in July sometime. We're still trying to finalize the dates. But if your student would be interested in going with us this summer, I just want to put that on your radar. And then we're also offering for students who have been on a mission trip with our student ministry before, taking a trip to the Dominican to visit our gospel partners, the Hodges, down there in the Dominican for a week and serving the Christian school and the church there. So that'll be June 9th through 16th next summer if you are interested in learning more about that trip. Last notable event to just put on your calendar, I'm trying to plan ahead for our camp next summer. And so the past couple years we have tried to go to the wilds, and COVID shut that down. And then the last summer there was no spots because apparently people sign up for camp in September. That was new to me. So this year we are going to be ahead of the ball on that. And we have selected our week for June 27th through July 2nd at the Wilds. That's Will Galkin's week. Will is a personal friend of mine. I actually sat under his teaching for a while and was saved under his ministry. And so very thankful for Will Galkin and would love for our students to sit under that. And so I just want to put that on your radar. In the next couple of weeks when registration opens up, you're going to be getting an email about that. I would love for as many who know they'll want to come to camp with us to sign up right away so we can get a group spot and get some of our spots reserved so that we don't run into the same problem that we've had in past years. Again, those dates, June 27th through July 2nd, 2022. All right, as we come to the end here, I just want to give you some miscellaneous information, and then we'll close. We'll have any questions that you have. I'd be happy to answer them or clarify for you anything, and then we'll have a time of prayer and a time for you to meet our small group leaders. Just a few more things to cover. Several of you have mentioned to me that you're interested in being or helping serve Calvary Student Ministries in any way that you can. As parents, wanting to be a part of that and serving as you're able to. And we had several of you this past summer help us with our dodgeball outreach. And we were very thankful for that. And so as I've been evaluating ways for you, if you would like to get involved in serving, one simple way would just be helping with Dollar Dinner. That's something, if you can help us, we need help picking up the pizza and serving it on a week-to-week basis. And so it'd be like probably a 45-minute commitment, picking up the pizza and then serving it. And then your night, the rest of your night would be free. But if you would be interested in getting on a rotation for that, that is included in that survey, and you're more than happy. I'd be more than happy to talk with you about that and get you set up with that. The other thing I want to mention is we offer a time of prayer for our students. This is something that's new, but we are wanting to do on a regular basis. And so specifically, this is an invitation to dads. Something I started in August and plan to do once a month is do a Friday morning coffee and prayer time. And right now, we'll meet at Panera, and we'll meet early in the morning before work, so you have plenty of time to get ready for work or go get your kids to school, whatever you got to do. But this is just a time that I am trying to intentionally set aside to meet with anyone who would like to meet and have a group of guys get together to just pray for our students. At the end of the day, we as a Calvary Student Ministry staff can put a lot of effort in. We can do a lot of investment, but the one who's going to work in your students' hearts is God. And so we want to set aside time to regularly seek the Lord, and I want to set aside time to regularly pray for you as you shepherd your children and pray with you as you pray for your children. And so I'd encourage you to join me in that. That'll be in the emails as well, but planning to do that once a month. Our staff is meeting regularly to pray for your students on Sunday nights, and so we wholeheartedly believe in prayer and the power of God to work in your students' lives, and so we want to extend that opportunity for you to be a part of that as well. The last thing is there is a ministry, Pastor Andrew mentioned it last week in his message, that is getting started this fall. It's a mentoring ministry for guys in our church who have a burden and a passion to invest in students who have different skill sets or giftings that they want to teach. And so there's 4 guys right now who have committed to this fall opening up their schedule to invest in some students who would have interest in the various opportunities that they want, or the skill sets that these guys have to offer. So I think some of them, one of the guys is an electrical engineer and also a plumber. He's done that his whole career, and so any student who would be interested in learning those skill sets, he would be happy to meet with them for a set amount of time, a couple months, maybe once a week or once every other week, and just use that as an opportunity to teach them that skill set and also just teach them about life. There's several other ones. There's a guy who's really interested in cars, a guy who wants to teach music, gun safety, different things. And so if your student would have interest in that, that's something that we're going to get started here in the next couple weeks, and I'll keep you up to date on that. But I just wanted to put that plug in for you all to be aware of that going forward.